We'll come back and talk about missile defense and combating weapons of mass destruction at a later point and bring that back into STRATCOM as well.
But not too much.
But before we do that, let's talk about another thing, and that's precision strike. Of course, the United States has been in the business of wanting precision strike for a long time. And in theory, our strategic bombing doctrine built around the Norden bomb site was an early attempt to do that. But it took a lot of enabling technologies to come together to kind of give us the precision strike capabilities that are available today, where you can take a non-nuclear warhead and deliver it very close to a target at very long distances with great statistical accuracy.
Well, there's an important lesson there for the so-called third offset, which we're working on today. But when we coming out of Vietnam, the Air Force and the Navy, but the Air Force being in the lead on this, we did a very hard look, and we looked at why did we fail at doing what we thought we would be able to do. Our doctrine was right, our tactics were right, what was wrong? There were three things that were wrong. One is lethality per sortie. Our lethality per sortie was so low that the adversary could repair the damage faster than we could inflict it. So we go up to the Thonwall Bridge one day at great risk. We punch some holes in the bridge and come back the next day, they're all repaired. So that was one, lethality per sortie, just way too low. The second one was we were restricted in effective operations to day good weather. And the third one was that the adversary always knew more about what we were doing than we knew about what they were doing. So we said, here are three deficiencies we have to fix. And so we set out, led by the Air Force, on a whole string of separate technology thrusts that could answer those three needs, but those three needs were kept very solidly in mind. So in the terms of lethality per sortie, what you needed was precision. Bigger bombs don't do it, you need precision. So we went from the bullpup, hand-guided most of the time, unguided all too often, to EO, to FLIR, to et cetera, to. And we went from 400 feet, which was a real combat CP. I could get 100 feet on the range when nobody's shooting at me, but we went from 400 feet to 80 feet to 30 feet. And there was a reason for each one of those. There was a specific need that said 50 feet won't do it. I got to put a runway out of commission, I need 15 feet. So I can go down both sides, and so you can't use it. So it took us 20 years, 25 years. And in the first Gulf War, we had precision capability so that one airplane, one sortie, one target. With the B-52, we got to the point where we had one bomber, 20 targets because of precision. But that was solved by opening the spigot to a whole set of technologies. And still, there are multiple solutions out there. Came to the night and bad weather. That was the reason for the F-15E. We exploited, first we exploited IR, the FLIR, which was compartmented. So we went through this whole set of technologies to do that. We went from EO, FLIR, synthetic aperture radar, to get us the issue where now, instead of the night being a sanctuary for the adversary, it was the time when we had maximum advantage because we could operate effectively in sea and they couldn't. So we got those two. The third one is a reason why if you were to list the most universal contribution to effectiveness in combat and what has changed the most over the last 15 years, your answer would be ISR.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, certainly kinetic attack is important.
Yeah,
These two things are terribly important. But if you say, what is the real game changer in every level of conflict over the past 15 years, you pick ISR. If you look at where does the Air Force and the Navy and the Army, where they put enormous resources, it's ISR. So those were the three lessons. And each of those took a whole set of technological solutions, and it took stamina. I remember when my boss came back from a meeting, my four-star boss, and said, well, Welch, the Air Force has committed within 20 years to be able to attack any target, anywhere in the world, any time of the day or night, in any weather with high precision. And we are going to make that happen. And we did.
One of the arguments that the people who argue for very deep cuts in nuclear weapons make is you can do the same thing with precision strike conventional weapons that you would do with nuclear.
Yeah, psychologically, physically, the biggest, most accurate, most powerful conventional weapon we have can be terribly important and is no substitute for any nuclear weapon. It just is not the same. You know, it's interesting, during the Cold War, we had no plans for employing any conventional weapons within the Soviet Union. None. Well, why? Well, because that's a very high price to pay for a firecracker. A very high price to pay for that target. So I maintain it's enormously useful for the president to have that option. It's enormously useful for our adversaries to know that we can deliver any kind of strike we want, anywhere in the world, any time of the day or night. I think that's enormously important. That is not a substitute for nuclear deterrence. How can anyone imagine they're deterred by conventional weapons? If that were the case, how could we have a Vietnam where we were enormously superior conventionally?
Getting back to STRATCOM, at one time the argument was made that you couldn't really have the Air Force and the Navy cultures together. They were so different. But now it's not only the Air Force and the Navy culture, it's the cyber culture, it's the space culture, it's the missile defense culture, and we'll talk, as I said, about missile defense more later. It's the precision strike culture, it's the cyberspace culture, and it's all in this one global command. Has that created insurmountable problems?
Well, it's created a tremendous challenge for the staff. There are two dangers, and we've seen the manifestation at various levels. The two dangers is the staff is continually jerked from one problem to the next problem to the next problem without enough time or enough depth to actually address any problem adequately. And we've seen that in the past, particularly with one of the commanders. But and the way that the command now deals with that and has for the last several commanders, I think, is the right way, and that says that we have these 7 or 8 responsibilities, but 3 of them are core, and the other are things which we advocate, support. But the definition of a core is that we, Stratcom, deliver this capability worldwide. In other words, we deliver it. We don't support somebody else delivering it. And that, of course, is strategic nuclear deterrence, space-based capabilities, and cyber. So cyber is a little more complicated in that cyber is everywhere. Everybody operates cyber systems. But in terms of the worldwide employment of cyber forces, so those are treated properly as the core, 3 core missions, that is, this is what we deliver. And there's still attention to the other 4 or 5, depending on how you count. There's still attention to them in terms of advocacy, understanding, lending support. But the other thing about about at least 3 of the others, is that it's not predominantly global. It's as much theater like ISR. You know, ISR is one of their, but they don't deliver ISR, they don't own ISR. And while certainly they deliver ISR from space, and that's global, and there are some strategic ISR assets that are global, huge amount of ISR is theater, tactical. So I think that's the right balance.
Okay. One final question on Stratcom before we leave that right now, although we'll come back, as I said, to things like missile defense later on. And that's the relationship with British. I mean, we've had, going back to World War II, a very close relationship to the British and things nuclear. And Britain, of course, was the 3rd country after the Soviet Union to acquire nuclear weapons. And while you never have had kind of combined planning for nuclear weapons, you've had consultation and staff talks and things of that sort. What can you say about how Stratcom deals with the British nuclear?
Well, it's a very close relationship, and the relationship with the British enterprise is on multiple levels. That Sandia has a very close relationship.
Yeah, of course, the nuclear enterprise.
The Navy has a very close relationship. The next generation, the Ohio replacement program. Parts of that, the schedule is driven not just by us, but by the British need. The D5 replacement, which is way down the road, but that has to consider the British force also. As far as Stratcom, there is collaboration and understanding, but to say this carefully, Stratcom does not have targeting authority over that. So that's a important professional relationship. It's much less a command